Hey, it's Jeremy from OpticHouse.com. So, I have shown you so many other phases, the inking, the layouts, working on colors, covers. So now I'm going to show you my lettering process, which I have alluded to in other videos is a little weird. I do thumbnails first, very rough sketches, just trying to figure out visually what I want to show in each panel. These are my thumbnails for pages 1 and 2 of Morningstar issue 4. In this sequence, a bunch of demons begin in a cave in their den. They are trapped in the cave from the explosion that Lucifer sent off. Excuse me. An explosion that Lucifer set off in issue 2 when they were rescuing Ariel. So now they're trapped in this cave. They're hungry. They're turning to cannibalism, and they're kind of violent with each other. And you can't see it in the thumbnails, but there's a little note to myself that was cropped off. It says, "Remember to make them look emaciated," and they don't quite look emaciated here in the thumbnails, but in the proper layouts that I'm doing now, that I'm drawing, that note is important to me. I'm frequently making notes to myself because I can't keep in my head all of the little things that I want to do, all the little gestures and notations. So I will just, anytime I think of something that I need to do this on the final page, or I need to light the scene this way, or this character is missing this detail, whether it's in the thumbnail stage, the layout stage, I'll just write notes in the margin to myself all the time. Anyway, for this sequence, I decided to give myself a little interesting challenge. This whole issue 4, is broken up into its alternating scenes of the demons and scenes of Lucifer and the rest of the archangels in heaven. And what I decided to do is that I was going to tell all the demonic sequences in horizontal tiers, all the demon sequences in horizontal tiers, all the angel sequences in 9-panel grid, because there's a lot more talking, a lot more dialogue. So in this particular scene, they're not broken up into... In the first page, it isn't broken up into 5 panels. It's broken up into 4 panels, but it's not broken up into 4 equally sized panels. And for the rest of the pages after this, they're all equal sized panels. So I have a template that I created in Adobe Illustrator, and it just has the safe areas and the crop areas for a comic book page. And I have the layer turned off right now, but I have a Strathmore comic book page that I scanned in, and that's the boards that I'm using to ink on. And I laid that underneath and lined up the crop lines for the Strathmore page with the crop lines, my crop marks for this template. So I go through and I have I have a bunch of word balloons, just boxes of dialogue set in the typefaces. I just have the words of the typefaces there. Some that I've gotten from a website called Blambot, including Raygun, which I purchased because I've used a bunch of his free fonts. And the guy put so many free fonts on there that I was like, I need to kick down some money, at least buy one of his fonts. But I should probably go back there and buy a bunch more, because there are so many indie comic creators that are grateful for all the free fonts he's put out there that I'm like, yeah, I need to support this guy. Anyway, I have my comic book fonts kind of off to the side, and I just pull them, drop them into not pre-made, I have the pre-made bits of text. I'll create an ellipse, and I'll use in Illustrator what's called the type in area tool. What it does is it types inside a particular shape. If I draw a square and then use that type tool, then it'll fill the type within that square. And if I change the boundaries of that square, make it longer, skinnier, what have you, the type will adjust to fit that. This is handy for typing within word balloons, because I can get a basic adjustment for some of these shapes. And then I'll go in and I can still, add a return here and there. And, if that's the need, then I can just, adjust the text a little bit more, refine it so that I can try and get, as nice of a round shape as possible. Now I've moved on to page 2, and for page 2 I just go through and, deleted all the balloons that were in there before, add some new ones. I don't think that I am a great letterer per se, but one of the challenges I have is trying to get my lettering so that it's not too big in my comic book print size, because for my first graphic novel, Eye of the Gods, I did that book at digest size. I believe it's 6 by 9, or it's 8.5 by 5.5 inches. Either way, it's a size that's smaller than the typical comic book size. However, I thought it would be weird to do individual issues with the oversized. Well, my main problem is that for doing comics at digest size, which is what I'm eventually going to collect everything at, the typeface should be a little bit larger because the pages are smaller and I want to make sure it's legible. What is awkward is that while I'm doing single comic book issues, I'm printing those at standard comic book size. So it was challenging for me to find a font size that wasn't so big that it was really grossly distorted and way too big, but at the same time wasn't so small that when I reprinted it at digest size, the collected version, it wouldn't be tiny, unable to be read, or just difficult to read. That was my main concern. I wanted to make sure it could be read comfortably. And I think I found a nice, fair, middle ground for that. Although I do remember one time Richard Starkings called me out on it because he was, I was at a comic convention, he was looking at some of the pages of the issue. He was like, wow, your lettering is way too big in this. And I was like, I know, but and I didn't have a chance to explain why I was doing it, why I did, but I was like, well, if Richard Starkings tells you your lettering's too big, you should probably listen, because, he's one of the godfathers of lettering. Speaking of which, I'm going to put a link in the notes for this video, because one of the books that has helped me tremendously is Richard Starkings' Comic-Craft Guide to Lettering. That book has so much great information about pre-press, how to properly set up your pages, creating a nice narrative flow for your word balloons. It teaches you a lot about visual composition and storytelling through lettering. And lettering is one of those unsung arts, in the sense that, good lettering is like good editing. You shouldn't notice that it's there, but if it's bad, it screams out at you and it can destroy the whole entire process. It's a very subtle art, and I still don't think I've mastered it all. I continue to try and learn and do better and grow, and sometimes I don't think I necessarily get the best lettering that I could do because I'm trying to hurry and move on to the next phase. It's one of the problems with being an indie creator who's doing the whole process themselves: lettering, inking, penciling, the whole shebang. That sometimes I'm like, oh, this really should be finessed and should be a little bit tighter. Maybe I should move recompose this page, but I'm thinking, all right, I've got to keep moving. I got to keep the train going, get the lettering done so I can get on to the next part, get on to inking, finish my layouts, get the book design ready for the next one. So, it's tough to do everything as perfect as you'd like when you're, chugging along by yourself. Anyway, that's it for now. Check out my website, optichouse.com. Go be creative.